release of the last two Super Famicom games, Shozo Kaga had hinted at the return to the Akaniya continent. But as we know, it was a continuation of the Yundro saga instead. While not much is known about the Akaniya game, it's likely the plans fell through and they salvaged what they can from this project and released it as Fire Emblem Akaniyan Senki, or Record of the Akaniya Wars. Akaniya Wars was released on a broadcast satellite service called the Satellaview. The Satellaview, for those of you that don't know, was a satellite service that Nintendo offered in 1995. It's an add-on that enables you to receive satellite broadcasts during a certain time of the day. So if you wanted to play a certain title, you better tune in during the time of the broadcast, or you'll miss out. If you want to know more about the service, check out Clan of the Grey Wolf's review of BS Zelda. You'll get more details there. Anyway, a total of 4 episodes for Akaniya Wars was released, 1 map for each episode. The story was a prequel and took place during Medius' invasion. The gameplay was basically Mystery of the Emblem, just without the detailed battle scenes. The game feels unfinished because each map had no real goal. Your job is to stay alive until the time limit is up. Once that happens, the cutscenes with extensive voice acting is triggered.
Cameos Shogun, 何かあったのですか?
ニーナ姫、メデュースの親衛隊がもうすぐこのパレスに到着するそうだ。
ドルーア軍が。
The music are also high-quality streams that you wouldn't get from a regular Super Famicom game. These 4 episodes focused on delivering the story rather than offering any kind of deep gameplay. It essentially plays out like a radio drama. They can be challenging, but there really isn't a point to any of them. They are an interesting novelty to the series and not much else. While the last game was released on the Super Famicom in the year 1999, an N64 installment was in the works. Since the system's launch, we had yearly rumblings about Fire Emblem 64. The title was planned for the 64DD and was later moved to cart. By the time Intelligent Systems released Paper Mario at the end of the N64's life, fans knew Fire Emblem 64 would never see the light of day. It also didn't help that Shozo Kaga left Intelligent Systems to form his own company called Ternanog. The reason for Shozo Kaga's leaving is unclear. Rumors are that he wasn't happy with the way things are going with Fire Emblem 64, and that Intelligent System was having a hard time adapting to 3D polygonal graphics. Whatever the reasons were, he left to start his own company and immediately created Tearing Saga for the PlayStation. Tearing Saga is a spiritual successor to Fire Emblem Gaiden, along with many elements from the Fire Emblem series. Everything from growth rates, character recruitment, stats, skills, and the mythology was very Fire Emblem-like. The Fire Emblem Gaiden elements include 2 main characters, more RPG-style gameplay, and of course permanent death. You could have easily called this Fire Emblem Gaiden 2 or even Fire Emblem 6 and it wouldn't be out of place. But therein lies the problem with Tearing Saga. Maybe less to do with the gameplay and more to do with its initial name. When Tearing Saga was still in development, it was called Emblem Saga. Shortly before release, its name was changed to Tearing Saga. No doubt it was changed to prevent a potential lawsuit from Nintendo, but unfortunately, that was not enough. In July of 2001, Nintendo filed a lawsuit against Terranog and its publisher Enterbrain, claiming copyright infringement. Nintendo eventually won the lawsuit and was paid 76 million yen. I'm not too clear on the details, and reading about lawsuits through Google Translator isn't my idea of fun. I will say this, for someone who created an intelligent strategy series, the strategy used to promote this game wasn't very smart. When the title Emblem Saga was first unveiled, many sites actually reported it as Fire Emblem on the PS1, despite the fact that Nintendo owns the copyrights. I'm not saying Shozo Kaga deserves to be sued. I just can't believe they don't see litigation troubles when their title is mixed up with another. My thoughts aside, Shozo Kaga would learn from this mistake and name the next game in the series to Berwick Saga. It's wrong to say that Tearing Saga didn't bring anything new to the table, but the sequel did more to earn its own identity. The full title is Tearing Saga, Berwick Saga Lasberius Chronicles Chapter 174. Beyond the name, this title did everything in its power to distance itself from its predecessor. The maps now employ a hexagonal grid, unique troop management, and even the way turns are taken is completely different. You'll be in for a heck of a surprise when your horse dies in combat. similarities to Fire Emblem can still be seen. Things like random growth rates, permanent death, and even the weapon setup resembles Fire Emblem. Although there are more types of weapons, there is no weapon triangle this time around. Similarities aside, this is a different beast. It's been 6 years since Berwick Saga hit the PS2, and no word on what Shozo Kaga is up to. The Fire Emblem series, on the other hand, trucks along, and made a breakthrough in the West in the year 2001 with the launch of Super Smash Bros. Melee. This famous fighting series would serve as an introduction to the Fire Emblem series for many American players. For the first time, the West got to meet Marth and Roy. Marth, as we all know, is the main character of the first game, but Roy was the main character of an unreleased game, and was not due for another year. I've heard that originally Sigurd was supposed to be in the roster, but instead Roy was chosen to promote his upcoming title. At first, these two characters were met with confusion and hostility. In the end, their power and skills won players over. Marth was agile and light, while Roy was powerful and slow. If it wasn't for Melee popularizing these two characters, Fire Emblem might have never made it to America. But before Melee, Fire Emblem had already secretly entered the West, albeit in extremely small cameos. In the games department, 2 Fire Emblem cameos appeared in 1996. One was in Tetris Attack, the other was in Kirby Superstar Deluxe. Yes, that 5x chain fanfare in Tetris Attack is in fact music from Fire Emblem. Intelligent System is also the developer of Tetris Attack. The Kirby Superstar cameo was hidden in Great Cave Offensive. Out of the 60 different treasures hidden in there, one treasure was simply called Sword. In the Japanese version, this sword was called the Falchion, the same Falchion that Marth uses. The sword's name was restored in the DS re-release years later. Beyond these small cameos, Fire Emblem had its merchandise released in America in the form of an anime. In the 1990s, there was a trend in making anime OVAs out of popular video game franchises. Off the top of my head, there was Street Fighter II, Fatal Fury, Final Fantasy, and even dumb titles like Battle Arena Toshinden. Fire Emblem also had an OVA, and was even released in America in 1997 by ADV. While the full title is Fire Emblem Mystery of the Emblem, it's actually the first 3 chapters of Dark Dragon and Sword of Light. The Fire Emblem anime is a surprisingly accurate adaptation of the game. Of course, the anime does take liberties here and there, but these scenes make perfect sense and connects the story together nicely. You can easily identify scenes recreated from the game. They've also included many little touches and attention to detail. They crammed as much detail as they could within the allotted time. The characters are well represented with a little more personality injected into them. Characters that are awesome in the game are just as awesome here. You'll see characters recruited just like in the game.
Stop this now!
People gambling in the arena, and orchestrated versions of the game's music. In fact, some of the music you've heard throughout this retrospective came from this anime. Though the anime is not without its flaws, one admittingly minor party member was left out. Then there is this completely baffling scene that doesn't connect well with the next scene. Just watch. I didn't edit anything out.
But why?
You lost 4 men and you let him get away? You've got some nerve coming back after that.
But boss, we did get the girl back. Oh, I was so worried.
What the hell happened? How did Julian end up getting injured and losing Lena immediately after they were saved? No, Naval did not betray them because Lena clearly says this later.
Yes, that strange swordsman rescued me again.
My guess is that they ran out of time or budget so the recapture scene wasn't made. I mean, just look at the animation. You can tell this anime's budget is very low. The detail fight scenes are executed well enough, but they are kind of short and leaves you wanting for more. You might also notice that Marth is called Mars in this. This is not an error. That was Marth's name for a while to American Fire Emblem fans.
Hey Mars, wake up! There's no need for you to apologize, Prince Mars. Everyone in Tellus knows that you're always daydreaming or in a lousy mood or just being stupid.
And what's anime talk without commenting on the dub? The overall dubbing is very competent, but there are one or two characters that are really annoying.
Kane is right! We must join up with Princess Nina and go to war!
The English version does have one of the coolest lines ever. Just listen.
Look at my hands. Look! These hands are stained with death. What's one more murder when you've committed so many? There's no turning back for me now. Not even your god can save my soul, priestess.
On the Japanese side of things, the voice actor for Marth would reprise his role in Super Smash Bros. Melee. Even more interesting is that this anime is the debut of another Nintendo character's voice actor. It's too bad this only lasted 2 episodes, because there's a lot of potential in this OVA. In our next episode, we move on to talk about the very first handheld release of Fire Emblem. This game is supposedly a reworking of Fire Emblem 64. Roy would finally take center stage in Fire Emblem Sword of Seals for the Game Boy Advance.